Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of What's Up Inland Empire, where we bring you local leaders, local events, local business, and just amazing information for you to learn and grow. I'm Jessica Q, your host, and today I have Pablo Fonseca. Did I say that right?
Fonseca.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I said it like 10 times before and I still messed it up. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And so Pablo is with 1-800 Biz Broker. And so you are a business broker. And today you're going to be talking to us about, just business and opportunities to buy businesses and kind of that, general information, right? So let's start off with, who are you, Pablo? And can you give us like a little bit of background about who you are and what is a business broker?
Absolutely. So first of all, thanks for having me on, Jessica Q.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
Really appreciate it. You did a nice job with the studio. I like it a lot.
Thank you. Yeah.
So,
fix it up too.
I'm a business broker. I've been helping entrepreneurs mostly sell their businesses when they retire. And if you look at the demographics of this country and of California, all the baby boomers are, they're ready to retire and want to sell. And I kind of fell into this by accident because back in 2006, I sold my restaurant. And at the time, I hired a broker, and they kind of introduced me into what they were doing. They did a horrible job, and after I sold my business, I said, I'm going to look into that, and I became a business broker. That's kind of how I fell into it.
So you saw room for improvement, and
Absolutely.
that's where you jumped in. Okay.
Absolutely. And then I saw the market shifted, like I mentioned, the demographics of the baby boomers that are selling their businesses. You do some research, and you find that, about 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every day for like the next 10 years.
Wow.
And so, about 20% of them have businesses. And, and some of those are definitely sellable businesses that their kids don't want to take over, because a lot of immigrants and boomers raise their kids and send them to college, and now they come back from college and they don't want to run the business. They become lawyers or doctors or whatever.
They have their own vision of what their life is
Exactly.
going to look like. Okay, yeah.
And so the father is all depressed, and no one's going to take over the business, and so they look for us to sell it. And that's exactly what I do.
Awesome. Okay. So that's what a business broker is. You basically, can you explain it a little bit more in detail, like how it works? Like you go in and you help a business just sell their business?
Absolutely. It starts with evaluation. So we figure out what the business is worth and if it's sellable. And if it's not, then we kind of coach them along to get it to a point where it can be sellable. And then from there, we market it confidentially, which is kind of interesting. And I think it's one of the cool things about our industry is that, to be honest, the business broker profession isn't really well known. Nobody really knows who we are until you need one. And so I kind of like that. So there's less competition out there for us. But at the same time, it's kind of difficult because when you sell a business, the owner doesn't want the whole world to know they're for sale, because then maybe their employees will jump ship, or their suppliers will think something's wrong, or the customers might choose another vendor. And so we kind of have to do everything on the down low. And that's what I think makes my job interesting and fun and hard and rewarding at the same time.
Okay. So it's, it sounds exciting and but I could totally see that happening where you're like, okay, we're going to help you sell your business, but let's not really put it out there.
Right.
But you have to put it out there in a sense, because you need people to know that it's for sale. So that might be a little bit difficult, but you do have a website where people can go to find local businesses that are for sale.
Absolutely. Yeah. My website is 1-800bizbroker.com. People find us there. And I've been doing this for a while now, so we have a database of qualified buyers that already are looking for businesses to buy.
Okay.
And then most of the time it's just reaching out to people that we think would be a likely buyer, like another business in their industry that wants to expand to a different market or expand their vertical or horizontal footprint. So we reach out confidentially to them.
And could you tell us how you help business owners prepare to sell their business?
Yeah, so like I said before, the valuation is key, and we want to make sure that the seller is on board with what we feel the business is worth, because lots of times, many times, the business owner always, when you ask them what their business is worth, they always say, oh, it's worth $10 million or $1 million.
They evaluate it by the time and effort they put in, not what it's actually bringing in, right?
Exactly, and I can empathize with them, because it's their baby. They started this business probably and they've had it for many, many years. And so they do put a huge value on it. But at the end of the day, a business is worth a multiple of the earnings it makes a year, and that multiple varies by industry. But so we kind of educate the seller and teach them how a business is valued in the real world, and from there we go to, once we agree to the price, then we can start creating the marketing material and the confidential information memorandums that we create, and then we go out to the market and figure out who's the most likely buyer. A lot of it now is done online. Back in the day, I've read that they used to use newspapers, like under the business opportunity section. You would see a business for sale, but now most of it's online. Buyers that are looking for business to buy are looking online, and so we're there. And on most of the sites that have listings for business for sale, it's kind of like in real estate you have an MLS, right? Businesses really don't have an MLS, but there's a few major websites that kind of have the most listings out there. And so we're members of all those websites, and that's kind of how we market it.
Okay. Now I want to rewind just a little bit. So could you tell everybody how you would evaluate a business? So let's say a business makes $500,000 a year. So if they're making $500,000 a year for the past 3 years, they've been consistent. So it doesn't go up or down.
Right.
It's, so $500,000 a year, then how much would that business be able
worth?
to be worth, or like how much could they try to sell it for?
So you're saying $500,000 in profit, right?
Yeah, let's say $500,000 profit. Sure.
Okay, so not top line sales. So it goes back to the industry. So if you're making $500,000 a year and you're a restaurant, for example, and the restaurant's over 5 years old and it kind of runs on its own, and the owner just checks in every once in a while, it's worth a certain multiple, maybe 2 or 3 times that value.
Annual profit.
Income profit, exactly.
Oh, okay. So that one could probably sell for $1.5 million.
Exactly, from $1 million to $1.5 million, depending on other variables. Maybe the lease expires in 2 years. There's other variables that you need to consider
that will affect if
sale.
it.
Exactly.
Okay. So it might be worth less if the lease is going to be ending in 2 years. If the lease is going for a 10-year lease,
exactly,
then they feel more confident that they're not going to be kicked out of
Absolutely.
that location.
And if the owner works, 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, then it's worth less as well than if the owner has management in place and systems in place that make the owner less important to the business. So the less important the owners to the business, the more it's worth.
Okay.
Because you can think of it as you want to buy more than a job. You want to buy a business. When you buy a business, you want to buy goodwill and clients and systems that are already in place, because you're paying for the things that you don't have to build yourself. Okay,
cool. And so this will be fun. What is the coolest or most interesting business you have sold?
I come across lots of interesting things, and lots of times they're not very sellable. Like they'll come to me with an invention, or they come to me with something, they sell on Amazon, which is cool. It's a little side hustle kind of. So we really can't sell those. But I think one of the most interesting things I sold recently is a company that makes varsity jackets.
Varsity jackets.
Varsity jackets, and I never really thought about varsity jackets, but if you think about it, if your kid is if your son or daughter is in sports and they're about to letter or they're a senior, they're definitely going to get a varsity jacket, right? And so these varsity jackets, they're selling for $600 each, and then the patches are $30 to $40 a piece, and this company is almost a monopoly. There's only a few manufacturers in California, unless you order from China. But if you want it made in America and made here locally, there's only a few choices. And I thought it was a really neat little business, because I like niches, really niche businesses, and with little competition and huge margins. And this definitely fit the bill. In fact, me and one of my partners were almost thinking about buying this business, but we were able to actually sell it within a week. It was such a great opportunity. But that's one of the most interesting ones we've had.
A varsity jacket company that's out here.
Yeah, they're local. They're actually based in Moreno Valley.
Oh, very nice.
Say goodbye to rosacea worries with Marvisol. It has no sulfates, no steroids, and no artificial colors. By applying it once in the morning and once at night, Marvisol will help you get the skin you always dreamt of.
So what are the common mistakes business owners make when they're selling their business, and how can they avoid them?
I think the biggest mistake a business owner can make is waiting too long and not having an exit plan.
Okay.
And let me go back here. Sometimes a potential client will call me, and it's one of and I call them one of the 4 Ds that we want to kind of avoid. And
Okay.
and these are, divorce. They're going through a divorce, so they need to sell the business right away. So they're going through it. There's a death in the family. Like maybe the owner died or the partner dies, and there's disease. They have cancer or something.
Okay.
And the last one is desire. Like you just lost all passion for the business, but then you wait too long to put it on the market, and then by the time you realize you don't want to be in it, your sales are down 40%, and now you want to try and sell it. And so those are the kind of things you want to avoid. So I think the biggest thing is you need to have an exit plan for your business, and I think you need to operate your business every day like it's going to be preparing for sale, and that's what I tell my clients.
Okay, now let's say somebody wants to buy a business.
Mm-hmm.
What are your recommendations if you're, you came across a bunch of money, you won the lottery, and you've got $1 million to spend on a business? What is your recommendation for somebody that's out there looking to buy a business?
If you want to buy a business and you have $1 million, I really think you should first of all figure out what you would really love to do.
Okay, that's a good.
I mean, you need to be passionate about whatever it is you want to do. If you're into wine, then you want to go into that field probably. If you're into
been there, done that.
That's why I brought it up. Yeah.
That's funny.
If you're into, I don't know, if you're into coffee, maybe you go into the coffee business. But it's key that you really enjoy what you're going to do, because when you own a business, especially when you first start out or you first buy a business, you're going to be involved 24/7. And if you don't have the passion, you're not going to have the energy or the drive to make it succeed.
Yeah.
And you're going to lose your $1 million. So.
And Pablo's actually my business broker, and I did utilize his services when I bought a winery. So I bought an urban winery, and so Pablo helped me and my partner with that transition. But like he said, you have to be passionate about it. And what I realized is I'm passionate about drinking wine, but I am not passionate about making wine.
It's two different things, right?
Yeah. So I ended up selling my shares for the winery, but it was a great experience. You know what I mean? I really did enjoy like learning, and it was a whole different type of business compared to my advertising agency.
Right.
But yeah, it was a great experience. So
no, you definitely learn a lot when you run a business, because you're kind of thrown into the fire. It's almost more valuable than a college degree, and sometimes you learn a lot.
Yeah, it's actually like experience. That's learning from experience. From doing, yeah. So let's talk about how do you elevate a business to determine its fair market value?
So most business owners, you've been evaluate, right? Evaluate business?
Evaluate, yeah. Evaluate.
So most business owners are trying to minimize their tax liability at the end of the year, right? So you're always writing off all this stuff, right?
Right.
And so what I do when I evaluate a business is I ask for 3 years of returns and 3 years of financial statements, profit and loss, in a balance sheet. And what I do is I go through the financial statements, and we find what we call our discretionary items. Like, for example, maybe you lease a car through your business, and it's discretionary because maybe your taste is to lease a Mercedes, but the next guy that comes around, he has a 20-year-old Camry and doesn't need a car. So that $5,000 a year payment is discretionary, and so we add that back into the net profit. Or maybe the owner pays himself a salary. That's also discretionary, because maybe they can pay themselves. You can pay yourself whatever salary you want if your company is structured as an S corp, for example. Mm-hmm. So those are also add backs. And so we go through the financial statements and find all discretionary add backs, add them to the net profit, and then we have the adjusted net profit, or what it's called like their cash flow or their seller's discretionary earnings. And it's discretionary again because you can make that number go up or down depending on how you categorize your expenses. Mm. And so once we go through that process, we find out what the real number is, or the benefit to a new owner would be of owning that business. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so
because obviously if somebody's going to buy it, they want to benefit from it. They want to have an income coming in, and
exactly.
Yeah. So
and maybe they don't. Maybe they're going to get a lease car as well. Maybe they're not. So we just make that into a dollar amount. And then, depending on the industry, we apply a multiple. And that's kind of where the art of it comes into play. Because what I just explained before was kind of just math, right? You just add back the discretionary items. But the art of the valuation comes in what multiple you apply to that business. And it's kind of, if it's a service business like janitorial or like a pool business, that multiple might be 1. It might be worth 1 times your annual earnings. But if you're in manufacturing with huge machinery and huge volume of sales, that multiple might be 6.
Okay.
Okay, and it's kind of, if you think about it, if you're in the stock market, it's kind of a PE ratio, price earnings ratio. It's kind of the same exact thing.
Okay.
And so, but and what the businesses I deal with, Main Street businesses, businesses that are doing less than $3 to $5 million a year, those multiples are all ranging between 1 and 5, and that's pretty much around the area where these businesses will be worth 1 to 5 times their annual adjusted earnings.
Okay, adjusted earnings.
Adjusted earnings.
Got it. Okay.
Because again, you don't want to. You can run your business however you want. Like Jessica, maybe you want to buy. You want to lease your car that's a Mercedes versus a Camry to your business, or you want to pay your health insurance, but you want to pay for the most expensive health insurance, not the cheap PPO.
Or HMO or whatever.
HMO.
Yeah.
So those are all items that are discretionary to the owner, and so that's why we add those back up into the net profit, and those become the benefit to the next owner.
I see. Okay. Now, could you take the listeners through a step-by-step to, like, if they want to sell their business?
Sure. So first thing, obviously, we need to do evaluation and see what it's worth, and then they can decide whether or not they want to go that route. The valuation, it also helps a business owner. Say, for example, they want to sell a business for $1 million. Now they know the formula they would use to get that valuation. So if their business is only worth $500,000, now they know they need to double whatever it is they're doing to get to that number. So a valuation can help a person that just, again, it's all about planning and planning ahead and getting an exit plan. So first is the valuation, and after that we create marketing pieces, all digital, really. We summarize our businesses, we summarize our financial statements. Then we figure out where the best places to market the business will be, and then we handle leads. We make them sign non-disclosure agreements, so that they can't. When we advertise the business for sale, we don't say it's the lobby in downtown Riverside. We say a bar a bar and grill in a downtown area in Riverside County, for example.
Okay.
We don't say the name of the business.
Say it. Okay.
So then when they contact us, they have to sign non-disclosure agreements, and then we release the information to them if we feel that it's a qualified buyer. Okay. So depending on who the buyer is, we might look them up on LinkedIn, we might Google the person.
Okay, so you do a little stalking.
Exactly. we need to kind of weed out the tire kickers, because we don't want everybody to know that the business is for sale again.
Yeah.
And so we kind of make judgments on that, but that's it just really depends also on the business we're selling, because we're less critical about certain businesses than others, obviously. But
okay.
And then from there, they make an offer, or they meet with the business owner, they meet the business, they make an offer, we go through escrow, then the buyer can go through all their due diligence, make sure that what we presented to them is correct. They verify sales, profit, etc. It goes through escrow. If the buyer needs help with financing, we help them go through an SBA lender. We'll do that as well. After all that is complete, then we close escrow. And then there's a transition period. We help the buyer and seller get through the first 30 days usually, make sure that all the utilities are put in the right name, make sure that all the contracts are transferred over, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
And that's pretty much it, from start to finish. And it can take from the time I talk to a potential seller, it could take from 9 months to a year to get to the end of the line. So
to actually
sell. To
sell. Okay. So if somebody has a business and they've been thinking of possibly selling their business, do you help? You can assist them with preparing an exit plan?
No, absolutely. Like I said, we want to make sure that their books are in order, and if they're not in order, we'll pair them with a CPA that can help them out, or some other financial planner. We do the evaluation. We can help them make sure that they have systems in place that are in writing for the next buyer to take off with the business.
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely. We do have some steps in place that we can help a business owner that's not ready to sell, but we want to get them planning, because again, it takes time to get this all done, and so we want to make sure that they're planning for this time.
Okay. And then, so what are some of the challenges you've encountered while brokering business sales, and how did you overcome them?
I think the biggest challenge, one of the challenges is definitely the valuation part. I think a lot of business owners aren't this is usually the first and only business they sold, and so
they're not in tune with what the true value is. Yeah,
that's a huge obstacle. Another obstacle could be the landlord. Landlords are an obstacle. If the business owner doesn't own the building that they're in, and it's key to the business, that landlord has a lot of power over you. And if you're close to the end of a lease, they might exert some of that power and having an unreasonable lease for the next guy, and then that kills the deal. And so landlords are an issue as well. So you need to figure out a way to deal with that before you even get started.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Because you don't want to waste time. You want to know how that's going to pan out from the beginning.
Absolutely.
I could see that being really difficult. Yeah. Okay, last thing. What advice would you give to someone who is considering selling their business?
I think it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. Just make sure that you keep good books and records, and if you hire a CPA, or at least use QuickBooks, because if you don't have QuickBooks and you come to me with a bunch of spreadsheets, it'll be a lot more difficult to put it all together and convince a buyer that you're a good value, because a buyer wants to buy a business that's organized and has systems in place that they can take advantage of. Otherwise, why are they buying a business, right? They may as well just start their own. Right. And my advice is always it's always better to buy a business than it is to start one, in my opinion, because you might pay a little bit of a premium, but you'll start from a different foundation that's already been built than if you started on your own.
Do you encounter a lot of that where you go into a business, they're ready to sell, and they don't have, actual records, or everything's written down on a piece of paper, and they're like, oh, this is what I made last year, and
absolutely, it happens all the time.
Really? Is it more often than not?
It's more often like the smaller, like the one-man, two-man operators. Maybe it's like a plumbing business that doesn't, keep good records, or it's a cash business like the corner store that doesn't necessarily report all their income. That's kind of another.
Well, then that's going to affect the value of the business. Absolutely. Because then you can't really show the whole. Exactly.
You can't show the buyer what the value is. Absolutely, and so that's something actually one of our obstacles we encounter is cash people that don't report their income, but it happens. But it's nothing we can really do about it, and we try our best. But
are you ever able to sell their businesses?
Sometimes because usually those buyers may be in the same industry, so they probably operate. They know that people don't always report everything, and so they take it into account already. But the buyer also, if they don't agree that the value can't take into account those sales that are phantom sales.
Yeah.
We really don't. We can't really help them, because then the valuation will never match, right?
Right.
So, but if they understand that it does, then we can usually help them.
Okay, I love that. So, yeah, thank you so much for all this amazing information.
You're welcome.
And I appreciate you being on the show. And, I think this would be really cool. Tell me if you're up for this. What if we had you come on every week and do like a 1 to 2 minute segment about maybe like a market update, tips, or, something like that? What do you think?
That sounds like it'd be fun. We can, I'm sure people have questions. And like I said, the sale of a business or the value of a business is a planning process, and if they want to email us questions, we can maybe address those, and maybe for a minute or two, and just talk about that every week. I'd love to do that.
Okay, yeah, let's do it. So, guys, you heard that. Pablo is going to be contributing to the show. I love this. And so if you have any questions for him, we have an email address, info@whatsupinlandempire.com. That's info@whatsupinlandempire.com. Go ahead and send your questions for Pablo, so every week he can get on and answer your questions. And, yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And, of course, What's Up Inland Empire is, we want to help you guys. We want to help you succeed in life, in business, in your community. And so that's what we're all about. That's our mission. And so thank you so much, Pablo, for being on the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you or hear you, or you'll hear us next week. Bye.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you, Pablo.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.